Hey everyone, my name's Matt and welcome back to the farm. Well, it turns out the weatherman was right. We got a little bit of snow overnight, an inch or two, nothing we can't handle, but it is the first snowfall of the year. On a given year, we average over 100 inches of snow a year. The majority of that is from lake effect snow. Now, I'm no meteorologist, but for those of you that aren't familiar with what lake effect snow is or have never dealt with it, basically you have cold air moving over a warm lake. The clouds absorb moisture from the lake, and then as those clouds pass over land, it dumps that moisture back on the ground in the form of snow. A lot of it's based on wind direction as to who gets the snow. So where I'm at here, it could be sun shining. I drive a mile or 2 miles to the east and it could be white out and they could have 4, 5, 6 inches of snow on the ground. And then you drive 3 or 4 miles past where it started and then you drive back out of it and it's sunshine again. So in a nutshell, that's really what lake effect snow is, and we deal with it here every year. So while I let that Kubota excavator warm up, no, I didn't buy a new toy. For those that are new to the channel, the last 3 years, this will be the 3rd year, that belongs to a good close friend of mine. And I worked out a deal with him where he doesn't have a place to store it inside for the winter months. So it comes over here, stays inside, and I have use of it all winter long to do whatever kind of projects I need. And it really has worked out well, and I really appreciate him giving me the opportunity to do that. But he brought it over here last week after he finished up with a job. It was on his way home, so he just decided, you know what, I'm just going to drop it off here. So the other day I went over and picked up his 1-foot bucket. So we're going to get that unloaded out of the back of the truck and get that inside. I'm tired of that thing riding around the back of my truck. All right, that job's done. All right. And I need this, and I need this. I got this message squawking at me on the dash telling me your tire pressures are soft, your tire pressures are soft. I hate that thing. Good enough. I think it's too cold and windy to work outside today, so we're going to work in here in the shop. Not so much on the 460, but kind of on part for the 460. Shop's a mess. We got to get some tools picked up. I want to eventually get this moved over to the other bay. So I got my main working bay here open for projects that might pop up. We gotta get a bunch of tools away, so that's what we're gonna work on for a little bit. I think while I'm doing that, I'm gonna give you a little history lesson. A history lesson on Cobb Hill Farms. So the little bit I know of the history of this property before my mom and dad ended up purchasing it, it was part of a large dairy farm, while at the time was a large dairy farm, about a quarter mile up the road. This piece was subdivided off for what I understand were family members of the owners of the dairy farm. And they lived in the house, they raised some beef cattle here, and that's how this piece became separate from what was a large family operating dairy farm in the area. So now back to when mom and dad owned it. Mom and dad worked normal jobs just like everybody else. My dad worked up in the city. My mom drove school bus, ironically. And we didn't really do any kind of farming around here. Like I said, my dad raised a few pigs for a couple of years, but then after that, got out of that. My interest in farming really started at a young age. My mom having a full-time job as a bus driver, I ended up being babysat by a lady around the corner from here who was the wife of a dairy farmer. I don't remember a whole lot from my childhood of being around the farm, but as I got older and growing up, we had the dairy farm up the road as well. The 10-acre hay lot that we make hay off of, that originally belonged to that dairy farm. And to get there, they would come on our property and they would park their equipment. So now I get to that prime working age of where now I can start doing some work to earn some money. Well, once you know it, the dairy farm up the road, they sold their dairy cows. So they went to a cash crop operation for a few years, and then they eventually ended up having an auction and closed their doors. The other dairy farms in the area were small family dairy farms. And really the only help they needed per se was in the summer months just putting hay in the barn. So I'd help a few of them out, put some hay in the barn, but that was really about it. So fast forward a bunch of years, I'm working, and remember the woman that used to babysit me that was the wife of a dairy farmer? Well, it just so happens that when I joined the fire department, her son was in the fire department. So I reconnected with them. And I used to go over there all the time. And I'd help out when I could on their farm, doing whatever I could. Whether it be feed calves, do nightly chores of any kind, and run equipment. So that was a lot of fun. I did it because I enjoyed it. And that's really what sparked the interest in farming for me again. Well, then fast forward a few more years and I went to work for the Bobcat dealer in our area. And that's where again I met another individual who became a very good close friend of mine. And I go over to his place on Saturdays and work in his shop. And he also raised beef cattle on the side. So I'd also help him with his farming operation. Well, in 2019, after many different things culminated to a decision of mom and dad wanting to downsize, we wanted to upsize. Mom and dad ended up selling this place to us, and they moved out and we moved in. And by no means was this of any kind of a farm. It was basically a house, a garage, and the old two-story farm barn. That was it. And there was a lot of woods behind the old two-story farm barn. And I've spent the last 5 years cleaning, clear cutting, leveling, seeding, all kinds of area to be able to put up the addition, all the barnyard and fence, the cattle barn, all that was woods when we first started here 5 years ago. And I didn't hire any of it out. I rented equipment when I needed to. I did a lot of manual labor at getting all those trees cleaned out, rented an excavator to dig out stumps as needed, and started building what we have now, what we have today as our farm. has all been pretty much hand built by myself, with the help of some friends and family. Where should I hang this sign up in here? I think I know. I think that looks pretty good up there. When we moved back here in 2019, we knew we wanted to farm. We were making hay at that point. I was doing that as just something to do with my antique tractors, because the antique tractor hobby was around long before farming was in our lives. So the hay was already up and rolling. We knew we wanted to do cattle, but we weren't to the point of having the infrastructure to handle cattle. So we got a few egg layers. We put the little shed up, and that came from my brother. They were looking to get rid of that thing, so that thing cost me nothing. I went and loaded it on the gooseneck trailer. I brought it home and put it where it sits now. So we started raising a few egg layers and having a few eggs and selling them to some friends, and that was about it. Well, then the year after we started doing the egg layers, we started getting a couple cattle around here. By then I had things cleared off enough. And when COVID hit, I built the addition. And that's when we started having our first cows around here on the farm. Well, then the next year we decided, well, why don't we get a few pigs? Let's try raising some pigs. So we did that, and that really went well. So there was no looking back. Last year, I think, is when it went from more of a farm hobby to a farm business. And I say that in regards to doing the broiler chickens and me deciding to leave my full-time life as a mechanic for the past 22 years at that point to go drive school bus and put more of an effort into our farm and treating it more of a farm business than a hobby, and making more of a living off our farm. And so far, knock on wood, it's worked out, and it's worked out very well for us. The broiler chickens we did awesome on this year. We have some other things coming down the pipeline to expand our farm, and we're excited to see just where the farm goes in the next few years. All right, I hope I didn't bore you too much with the history and story of our farm. I got a few chores to go get done. Is it me, or does it seem like I use this tractor a lot? Well, I do, because it's probably the most important tractor here on our farm. The cows aren't used to being grained in the middle of the day, so right now they're hanging out in the barn. Let's see if they come running when they hear me messing with this gravity wagon. Not coming yet. I don't even hear them. Oh, I hear them now. Come on, cows. Come on. Come on, cows. Here they come. That wind sure is a little raw out there. It doesn't take long for that to get to the bones. So we're gonna finish this one up here in the shop. We're gonna get that mini excavator out here before long. I got a few jobs on my mind that I wanna get done with that. So that'll be something we'll be working on here throughout the winter when we have a few nice days. Gotta get the rest of the shop all cleaned up so we can get this 460 moved over there. I wanna get this thing split, figure out what I gotta do to get all these torn up gears out of the transmission here. So that'll be something we'll be doing here in the near future as well. So I do gotta say one thing. I'm finding it harder and harder to get a little bit of self-motivation going, especially with the weather turning, getting cold, and just the hustle and bustle of the summer months. I kind of look forward to the winter months of being able to unwind, take a step back, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know. I feel a little bit lazy at times, but at the same time, I know there's a lot that needs to be done. So I find the motivation to at least get started on some of it. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you like our channel, as always, we ask you to subscribe. We hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.